If you are running on EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, and the integrator seat is either empty or occupied by someone who is not performing as the model says they should, you already know that something is off. The tools are running, the meetings are happening, but the business still feels like it depends on you in ways it should not. That is almost always an integrator problem. Here is the direct answer before we go further. An integrator in EOS is the second in command who runs the business day to day, so the visionary, you, the CEO, can focus on strategy and growth and the work only you can do. The integrator manages the leadership team. They drive accountability across the organization. They own the EOS operating cadence and hold the business together operationally. They are the person who takes the visionary's ideas and turns them into executable strategies and tactics. It becomes reality. But what that looks like actually week to week, and what separates a genuine integrator from a manager who has been just given the title, is what this video is really all about. I am Derek Fredrickson, founder of the COO Solution, and today we are going to be talking about what does an integrator in the EOS world actually do? What's the day-to-day in terms of what they own? Let's get into it. So let me walk you through what a great integrator actually owns every week, because the definition only becomes useful when you really understand what it looks like in practice. They run the level 10 meeting, not just attend it, they own it. They keep the agenda moving, work through the issue solving track of the meeting, and make sure the meeting produces a real resolution rather than the same conversation happening and repeating itself every single week. When the integrator runs the level 10 meeting correctly and efficiently and effectively, the visionary can be fully present rather than managing the people in the room. An integrator owns the scorecard, KPIs, and metrics. They make sure the right numbers are being tracked, surface issues early when metrics move in the wrong direction, and they do, and hold the team accountable to the numbers that signal whether the business is on track. Without this function working, scorecards become just reporting exercises rather than early warning systems. The integrator drives rocks to completion. Quarterly priorities in EOS are called rocks. Think of them as projects or goals or initiatives. And the integrator's job is to know the status of every one of the rocks on the entire leadership team. Identify what is stalling or what is getting in the way before the quarter ends and reveals that, guess what? It's a little too late. The integrator also holds each leader accountable between those sessions to ensure that if a rock is stalled or not on track, that they can hold that team member accountable to get the rock back on track. So we get resolution, we get progress, we get momentum. And also the integrator resolves issue at the right level. The integrator acts like a filter. They handle what can be resolved and handled operationally and bring up only what needs to be genuinely required of the visionary and their judgment. When this is working, the visionary stops being pulled into conversations that should be resolved at a lower level. And perhaps, most importantly, they protect the visionary's time, energy, and focus. This is not just about delegation. It is structurally removing the visionary from daily operations so they can stay in their zone of genius. One of our clients, Lucy Radin, managing partner of her company, Insight Technology Search, a recruitment consulting company, described it perfectly in the way that we helped her. Her COO integrator asks, how much involvement do you want? And Lucy says, just the minimum. And then it just gets done. That is what the integrator seat looks like when it is working. You might be asking yourself, so Derek, how does the integrator differ from a COO or a manager? And this question comes up consistently and deserves a direct answer. A manager supervises tasks within a defined scope. A COO leads the full operational function of a business. An EOS integrator does both, but within a specific operating framework built around the EOS tools, cadence, and principles. The critical distinction is that the integrator is not just running operations, they are running the EOS operating system itself for the business. And that requires fluency in the tools, the cadence, the structures, and the language from the inside, not just general operational skill. A capable COO without EOS experience is not the same as an EOS integrator. And a manager who has been promoted into the seat without systems thinking or leadership credibility is not one either. Now, what separates a genuine integrator from a manager with a title? This is the question underneath the question for most visionaries, and it is worth being direct about once again. Many EOS businesses may have promoted someone into the integrator role without validating whether they are actually built for the role and carry the knowledge and skill set to run it effectively. And so the result is a person carrying the title without the function. And the gap between those two things is where most EOS businesses stall, even while running the tools correctly. Now, 4 things separate a genuine integrator from someone who has the title without the wiring. Number 1, systems thinking. They build the infrastructure that makes work move more efficiently, more effectively, not just supervise what already exists. Number 2, leadership, credibility. The team follows them because they have earned it, not because the org chart or the accountability chart says so. Number 3 is EOS fluency. They understand the tools and the cadence and the structure from inside and can run the operating system without needing coaching on the basics or the how-to. And number 4, complementary chemistry with the visionary. This is the most important and underestimated of the 4. The visionary and integrator dynamic and relationship is one of the most significant, if not the most important, working partnerships in any EOS business. And when that chemistry is wrong, neither function performs well regardless of the credentials. You can have the most qualified person in the world in that seat, and if the wiring with the visionary is off and not in alignment, the business will feel it every single week. However, when all 4 of these are present, the seat works and works exceptionally well. When any one of those 4 is missing, though, it does not work. Now, one thing worth saying directly before we close this topic is that most visionaries who are struggling with the integrator seat are not struggling because they do not understand the concept. They're struggling because they have underestimated how specific the person needs to be. The combination of systems thinking, leadership credibility, EOS fluency, and visionary chemistry is not common. So finding someone who brings all 4 of these to the table and is the right fit for your specific business is harder than the model makes it sound, which is exactly why a fractional COO who is EOS trained and wired and skilled for the second and command seat is the right starting point for most growth and scale stage EOS businesses. This is not about a compromise, the right size solution for where they actually are and where they need to be. At the COO Solution, our fractional COOs are integrator masterclass graduates. They step into the integrator seat ready to run the EOS cadence from day 1 without a learning curve on your time. Now, how to know if your EOS business is ready for this type of integrator COO dynamic? The signals are usually pretty clear. The visionary is the central bottleneck. Oftentimes, the visionary is wearing the integrator hat in their own business. And I can tell you from experience that is not going to work in the long term. Decisions root back to them regardless of the accountability chart. The level 10 feels like a status update rather than an issue solving and project progression session, and rocks are getting completed inconsistently. The leadership team has the capability but lacks a strong operational leader holding them together. And if any one of those things are true, the integrator seat needs to be filled or reevaluated. The only question is whether the person currently in it or being considered is actually built for all four things that make the seat work. So if you're running on EOS and want to understand what filling the integrator seat correctly would look like in your business, let's start with a conversation. You could take our fractional COO quiz at thecoosolution.com to identify what kind of operational support does your business need right now, and then perhaps schedule a discovery call with me, and we will walk through your specific situation and what the right match looks like. Listen, you bring the vision, we run the operations that make it real. I'm Fredrickson, and this is the COO Solution.